Good morning, good morning, good morning. I am trying to get on Facebook as well. Well, I'm here. I pray that you had a good night. I pray that the Lord gave you a peaceful sleep because we know that those that have their minds stayed on Him will be in peace and will have rest in their hearts and their minds. All we have to do is take the cares of the world and roll them over to Him. And so this morning, I solicit your prayers. I lost a very good friend. As you know, so many are leaving here, and we know not the hour that Abba calls us, but we know that if we're in Him, we already know that we come straight in His presence when we leave this earth. And so I know she loved the Lord, and so it was quite different for me for the reason that I spoke to her on last Wednesday, I believe it was. And I think my heart is a little, have mixed emotions because I was not well myself when she called me. And we as preachers, we're ready to pray, we're ready to, push back hell and open heaven over anybody that asks. But my breath was so short that day when she called. I said that I would, if she would just give me an opportunity to touch and agree with her, then, I pray that the Lord will, strengthen her and get her through her challenge. Well, I was still not feeling good that I could not pray with her the way I wanted to, to speak out because my voice was very short at the time. I could not get words in without trying to take a deep breath without pain. And that, I'm telling you, that African dust is hurting so many people. So please be careful. But I'm grateful to God that I am well now. But I just wanted to share, talking about some signs of attachment today that many people are still being traumatized by, and wanted to share how important it is for us to be in tune with time, be in tune with the cry of those who are going through. And I think that that is what stuck with me, not praying with her. I mean, just how we do in the name of Jesus and so on, But I believe that's just because we want to try to make sure that we're always instant in season, out of season. And sometimes God is saying, I want you to make sure that you hear me and be still and know that I've got this. So today, I just need you to solicit prayers for me and her family, as we lost her on this past week, and to have had that last conversation with her. And, in some parts of me just so disappointed because I didn't verbally pray with her, but I did agree with her. But you know how it is. We want to be Miss Fix It and everything else and Mr. Fix It, in the realm of the spirit of praying and so on. But I bless God that I know that she's in heaven, and so I'm gonna be leaving here shortly to go to her funeral. You see how quick that is. We have to be very, very careful about what we're saying, even to people. We got to be very, very careful about what we're thinking about people. We got to be very, very careful of leaving here with hard hearts and not letting things go. So I know I'm talking to somebody, but on this month, September 1st is here. This is a very, very touchy month for me, because this was a month that I almost lost my life, and this is the reason why I'm doing these series. And so I want to share with you my devotion, and I'm sure it's for all of us in regards to making sure we understand that Abba is always with us. And even during that time when I was running for my life, I just didn't believe that God was going to keep me alive after suffering so much trauma in my own home amongst those that that I believe that would take care of me. David said, even in the place of the person that he thought was his friend, that person hurt him, that person harmed him. But we got to know that God is with us, He is for us. And so I want to share the devotion with you today. And I pray that God will bless you in this word today. And so it goes and reads as follows: Seek me with your whole being. I desire to be found by you. I orchestrate the events of your life with a purpose in mind, with that purpose in mind. When things go well and are blessed, you feel me smiling on you. When you encounter rough passage along your life journey, trust that my light is still shining upon you. My reasons for allowing these adversities may be shrouded in mystery, but my continual presence with you is an absolute promise. Seek me in good times, seek me in bad times, hard times. You will find me watching over you all the time. And so I want to leave that word with you before I jump into this message. I think it's so timely for such a time as this when so many are killing themselves, so many are having a hard time to get past so much in their lives because of pain and distrust and hurt and betrayal and so forth. But God is faithful and true, and He will never put more on us than we can bear. And so I'm going to set my timer now for our message to begin. I want to say happy holiday to you. I pray that you have a beautiful, fun, and most importantly, safe holiday. It wasn't safe for me, but I bless God today that I'm alive and well to speak to your heart and your soul and family, because this walk and journey that we're on, the faith journey and faith walk that I call walking on the water of faith, you can rest assured that we're going to be in a fight and a war. But if He be for us, who and what can conquer us? Amen. And so don't forget to go and check out the flyer I put there. I'm so excited that I am going to be one of the speakers in Port Arthur, Texas, with the Empowerment Church, where Bishop and Apostle Milo has invited me to come out and let them hear what the Lord has to say through this vessel. So I pray that you will join me. I pray the conference is going to be, as you can see on the flyer on Facebook here, it's going to be starting on next week on September the 6th through the 8th. And I will be their speaker on the 8th, that Saturday morning at 10 a.m. You do not want to miss it. Abba has got a word for such a time as this, for not just you, but for the whole house and your family. You hear me? Your church. You hear me? For such a time as this, we have got to fight. We have got to shut the gates of hell and open heaven over our families, over our finances, over our bodies, over our minds, because the devil is talking and so many is listening to the voice of the devil. And we have got to tell him to go back to the pits of hell from where he came and to loose his hold over our minds and over the things that was of our past. And we're going forward in the name of Jesus. And that we're going to be healed and whole. We have got to remind the devil who we belong to and where we're going to ultimately end up. And that is kingdom bound in the name of Jesus. Yes, God. And so anyway, I want to jump into this message and talk about this issue of signs of attachment trauma. You know, when I was talking to the Lord about this part of the message, because we're talking about the Titus 2 woman, remember? We're talking about the women who minister to other women. We're talking about women who make silly decisions. We're talking about women and young girls that we should be making our very, very time available to reach out to these women and young girls. Now, remember, we're not talking about just girls who are being challenged. We're talking about women. I'm talking about the elder women. I'm talking about women in ministry. I'm talking about women that have been challenged with trauma on every level. And we have got to talk about these matters to get them to understand that many of the things that they're going through is from post-traumatic, I call hell, that many of us are saying, oh, I don't have no PTSD. Well, we all have some form of what I've always called post-traumatic hell, because many of us are fighting the devil on every level, but nobody understands how to get hell out of their minds, out of their life, out of their bodies. And so this is what I believe that the Lord has anointed me to do for this last day as a leadership midwife and a healing and deliverance leader for such a time as this for individuals. So let's talk about some of those signs. Let's talk about some of the key things that this message is talking about. I got some notes here I want to share real quick, but I want to give some definitions about some things because what is happening in regards to this attachment trauma, when we have our sister girlfriends, when we have relationships with people, they don't even have to be someone that you see every day. It just needs to be somebody that just makes your baby kick. That, hey there, Evangelist Jesse, I just saw you come in there. That makes your baby kick. That makes you uh, want to do more with that person, want to do things, want to be with them, and they become so emotionally attached in your soulish realm. Before you know it, now you have an emotional attachment. But I want to talk about the trauma part of it, the trauma side of the attachment, because many of us, we don't know how to minister to the young girl or the woman in regards to attachment trauma. Is because many of them are still attached to the old. Many of them are still dealing with the cycles of the hell that they had once been through. And this is why they cannot come out of that relationship. This is the reason why they cannot enjoy this holiday that's coming up, because their mind is on that person won't call them. That person, they gave them a text and they won't text back. My spouse or this or that, or my boyfriend or this or that, because they're attached to things that are old, attached to things that are painful, attached to things that is causing them not to go where they need to go. Hi there, Miss Marilyn. Good to see you. Here we go. Let's talk about some of the signs. Now, the first thing that you got to understand about the sign is that it's interpersonal. What do you mean by that, Dr. Mercury? Well, interpersonal means that it's more than just the situation at hand. It's other people involved. It's other issues involved. It's other people stuff. You know what I'm talking about? It's other people pain that many times that we have carried over in our own relationships that's caused us to be where we are. That's caused us to have these attachments that God did not design for us to carry. And many times we carry these things because we are hurting from our past. Remember, I talked about those three things that many of us are still suffering with? I talk about those. I talk about lust, love, pain, and past. That is four things. That lust, love, pain, and past keep us in these vicious cycle of pain. We got to know that in every way, we got to fight. You're doing good. I'm so glad. Hi there, Marilyn. Okay, here we go. One of the things is that this emotional attachment does, it keeps us from trusting. Okay. Remember yesterday I talked about distrust. Okay. But what the attachment does when we get in this realm of trauma from the attachment, which is an interpersonal. I hope that you women that are dealing with women write this information down. She said, Evangelist said, wow, one of my fall classes is crisis counseling. Yes, ministering to women that is in trauma. That's right. Congratulations, because that's the last day ministry for anybody that's dealing with people, period. You got to understand that they're in crisis of every kind. And we got to be prepared to deal with the trauma that they're going through for this last day. And if you're going to be an effective leader, and especially dealing with women, boys, and girls, because many of them are facing trauma on every level, especially they're being traumatized in their own home. You better hear me. So anyway, I want to get on back to the interpersonal part of this and what happens to us. It becomes interpersonal, how we want to be attached to someone, but yet we detach because of mistrust, because of those areas that I talked about, because now they're attached, but you want to detach because of the pain. Remember those four that I talked about? You ain't feeling love. You feeling like, you stuck here in this pain because they reject you. And that's what this attachment of trauma does. It operates out of this level of an avoidance personality. And I'm going to get into that in just a few minutes. But this avoidance personality says that I'm going to dismiss you even though I want you. Isn't that something? I know when I was going through my relationship, when I was married, before I got married, I was dating different guys, but I had what was called during that time a dismissive type of mentality. So many women and young girls are walking around with this interpersonal wound that many of them want the people to come close, but all they can remember is to associate them and everybody as a dismissive type of mentality toward the person. Because, why, Dr. Murphy? Because they feel like you ain't worthy for nothing. You ain't worthy for my time. You ain't worthy for my love. You certainly ain't worthy for me to give you no sex. So I'm going to make you and tease you, make you want me so I can slam dunk you. And that's exactly what I used to do. I would get that money, made sure that they didn't have sex with me. I just wanted to pimp them for their money and everything because I want them to hurt like me. I want them to bleed inside and be traumatized about what it feels like to be hurt and rejected like me, to make sure that all men pay for what that man did to my face with that 12 gauge shotgun. So all men had the dismissive type of behavior from me. They didn't matter to me. All you was to me was for me to get some money out of you and trick you and tease you. But guess what? So many women are dying today trying to take that pain and have a dismissive personality type of mentality to these men, and they're not taking it. Many of these women and young girls are dying quickly because of this dismissive personality. Now, I want to make sure you understand too that many of the people who will not and cannot deal with a situation is facing this dismissive situation because they have nobody to mentor them or counsel them through it. So some of those signs deals are when they have this avoidance. Some of those signs, if you got to know, is that they're very, very sensitive to being isolated. Okay, they want to be isolated, but this isolation causes them to be very, very sensitive to isolation and want to do it. And many of them are killing themselves today. And incidentally, as I said earlier on, this is the month. September is the month of suicide awareness. And so we want to make sure that you be very sensitive to that. Because like I said, I know we have all these different months for awareness, but I believe that awareness on every level of hell is every day, not just on the holiday that we designate. It's good that we have these days so people can open their mind to them issues, those issues. But I believe that we all that are leaders and we all that are parents and grandparents and so on, or mentors, we should be very, very sensitive to ourselves to be able to continue our education to learn of these things to help these women and young girls out. And trust me, these boys, because many of them have lost their identity as well, because these things have manifested from the womb, they're confused about who they are, with so much post-traumatic hell from the womb or while they're in the womb. Lord help us out. And so anyway, they have this fearfulness, all right? And so they avoid intimacy. They have this type of social interaction that they don't want to do. They're very sensitive to rejection, okay? And so we got to know how to minister to those who, remember I told you, rejection is one of the worst demons that is out there. Rejection is the one that had Jesus constantly in warfare and fighting, because they didn't want to hear anything about what the powers that be in him from on high that was doing. And we as women, especially women leaders, are constantly rejected, even in our own homes, by our own spouses, by our own children who do not want you to preach. They don't believe that God called no woman. I don't even want to get into that message yet. But very sensitive these people can become because of the pain, because of the rejection. And so they don't do a lot of social interaction. We got to pay attention to these children that are doing that today. We got to pay attention to these children that have behaviors that are extremely extra, as the kids say, with anxiety attacks. We have a lot of women and young men that are going through that too. You got to pay attention for those who are constantly saying they have anxiety attacks. I was talking to a young man that I've been ministering to, Embrace My Heart, that he is going through really bad. I used to have the same thing, and it just hurts you when you see these things going on. You've experienced it. So when you experience something, your heartbeat is to see what God will allow you to do to help a brother and a sister out. Not just say, oh my God. No, you're seeking God. You're fasting. You're praying. What can I do to prevent these people from killing themselves? Because most of the time, that's where they're headed. Many of them are jumping out of cars while the parent is driving. Many of them fear even, turn the light out. And so we got to look at these behaviors are extra. They're very weak in their coping skills. They are often depressed. They have self-hate. They feel like they're too skinny. They feel like they're too fat, or they feel like they need to withdraw. They don't want to go around people, or either somebody has made them feel like they don't need to be around anybody else, so they stay away. They're very, very defensive as well. Everything that you try to tell them that's right, they don't want to hear it. They don't think it's God, because the devil is talking loud in the ears of these children and these adults. You better hear me. They are often bullied. This is the other sign of this attachment. They detach. I'm going to get into that in a few minutes concerning isolation. They detach because they're being bullied. They detach because they feel rejected. They also consider suicide. They self-mutilate. They self-medicate. I was there. I self-medicated. So I would smoke a lot of weed to try to not to hear the voice of the enemy telling me you're going to die. Nobody's going to want you. Look at your face. Oh, you remember he raped you. You remember what happened to you with that incest with your brother. They're going to find out. Nobody's going to believe you. Oh, you liked it. You hear all of these voices. Lord, help us today. I thank God for deliverance. Because we're in the hour right now that God has got to use a vessel who is not afraid to tell the naked truth, who is not afraid to share the testimony, who is not afraid to let the devil know, I was once there, but now that I am free, I know that I'm saved and I am moving the power of his might by the word of my testimony. That I'm letting you know, devil, that you're stupid, you're a liar, you're a loser, and Jesus is Lord even over you. And I am going to reach one and pull one out of the fire according to my daddy's purpose that he's called me to do in this last day. Yeah, this is where I'm at. And if I don't do anything else when I leave here, they can look back on these videos, my grandbabies and others that really, really know Dr. Murphy ain't playing with the devil. I will go out fighting for the women and the young girls. And so now I want to talk about the issues of suicide, the issues dealing with the isolation concerning these attachments, dealing with how we're self-medicating, some of the signs you can know in the young girls, how they cut themselves, how they do a lot of tattoos. A lot of women and elder women now are getting tattoos. Many of them are suffering silently with HIV. Hep C is a big one that's silent today. Many of them are dealing with all these infectious diseases they don't want anybody to know about. So they do a lot of tattoos. They do a lot of self-medicating. They do a lot of withdrawing because they have this, what we call this false sense of a personality that's causing them to want to detach when actually they are attached. God help us all today. And many times it starts with themselves. So you'll see a lot of attacks going on. You'll see a lot of clothes changing in these children and these women who suddenly we know that they're elders or whatever, or their leaders. They done had this crisis change where they want to be in the fashion bigger than you could ever imagine, where they done turn their hair purple, pink, blue, green. You see all of these types of signs that are there, and we are ignoring them, where many of them also, when I say change their clothes, that means now you got someone who done went way short, would never wear their clothes that short, who done went way tight, would never wear their clothes that tight, had went way left with things that they never would do. And, we got to pay attention to the mindsets and these things that they're doing. Also, we got to make sure that we understand many of them are being harassed even by their own peers. So let's look at the isolation segment of it so I can get off of here so you can enjoy your day and be sure and share this message. Now, in the isolation part of it, it's a natural response. This is some of the signs, okay? It's a natural response for us to respond to this type of interpersonal relationship. Why? Because what happens is that the person, because they feel unworthy, they feel that either their spouse or either the relationship that they're having, they feel that they're unworthy to even receive anything from them because they've had so much pain in the past. They've had so much cheating on them and so much abuse. And many of them have received infectious disease by their own husbands, and friends that they are close to have rejected them because now you don't fit in with me. You don't want to go to club too no more. You're a holy roly. So they look and they have this type of fearful avoidance. That's why it's called dismissive attachment. This means that they want to stay away from other people because they feel like they're protecting. It's called self-protection. They're protecting themselves from that pain, that rejection. And so the downside of this particular strategy that they use in regards to this attachment that they're trying to disassociate themselves or dismiss the individual, the downside of this strategy is that it creates a very vulnerable way for them to look like they're trying to avoid something. Well, and actually, when they're isolating themselves, they don't have a support system. They don't have anybody to help buffer those life's ups and downs or where they're going in and out. And this is why they are where they are. And so, what the other part of this isolation part of it, to some of the people who are going through, they have this form of control that they feel that they can handle when actually they're being controlled in the mind by the individual that hurt them, by the individual that rejected them. While they think they're dismissing them, they're calling the person forth to be able to abuse them more, because what they really want is not to be rejected. What they really want is to have the person come close. Why? Because they're dealing with attachment trauma. This isolation also keeps them from achieving any degree of closeness or trust. We talked about that. They can't have any type of relationship with the person because they don't trust them. And then the second phase of it I want to get on today is dependency. This is a real bad one. Many of the women in relationships that have attachment today, there's my time. Yeah, we need to get off here. Lord help. Many of them that have a dependency or attachment today, usually they're very anxious, they're preoccupied, and oftentimes they are obsessed with availability and approval from others. They want to be available and they want to be approved. And many times that's why a lot of these kids go in and blow their brains out or hang themselves, because they didn't get invited to the mall. They didn't get invited to the party. They didn't get invited to the family gathering. We don't want that one to come. We don't want you to be a part. And so when that happens, they just ultimately decide to kill themselves. We got pastors and leaders killing themselves today too, because the church is emptied out. They're mad because they won't tithe. They figured that they're going to another church, or they've heard some news about them that they can't get over, or they're just simply depressed that's been going on in their lives for years that nobody ever addressed, or nobody ever saw those signs. And so we got to recognize that that attachment and that dismissive type of mentality is great signs that the person is in a great place, that this trauma has really overwhelmed them, and they want to be attached, but at the same time they want to detach from everybody. They want to disassociate because they're very angry and depressed. And then the other part of this, they become preoccupied. They're obsessed with that. They look to others for a sense of self-worth, and they're highly anxious when approval is not forthcoming or the relationship is threatened in some way. And though these particular people have these needs, their anxiety, their interaction style, many times because they don't know how to give that love or give that relationship back to that person because they've been hurt so bad, that interferes with their development of security. They can't develop with security because they got so much pain. They got so much rejection. And so they're constantly seeking for something that they really don't want because they fear the relationship. And in the relationship, many a times the person become addicted to the person who is addicted to creating abuse. Write that down. They become addicted to the person who is addicted to giving the abuse, because that person too has an attachment trauma, because they too are fighting the same battle. And so you wonder why you are rejected, because the fear of rejection is causing the individual to reject you. Oh, yeah. And so you're just constantly sowing and reaping the same pain back and forth. We as women have got to fight and take some time to minister to these women, because many of them have become codependent. Many of them develop this codependency with that relationship because now they've started to take care of, or they begin to protect. They become mothers to men who will not work, who will not get a job. They become parents to sons and daughters who feel like they're entitled, and they will not go to work. They will not do anything. They will not take care of babies. And many of us have to take care of them because we fear the children will be abused. So we then make these men and these women, these young girls, weak. We're not teaching them. We're just releasing them into the place of attachment trauma that never is dealt with. And they just keep having babies and they keep on, getting all these different relationships and nothing is changing. Lord help us all today. We have got to fight for these children, and it is what it is. Hell to get hell. Dark draw darkness. And the trick of the enemy is wanting to deceive us to believe that what we think is light is dark. And that's the reason why so many people are attached to this trauma. But they begin to, like I said, they begin to call dark light. They begin to call bad good. And there were relationships that drain them, that emotionally torment them, and they remain there. And they are there because they do not want to feel rejected. And so, like I said, they develop this type of codependency with that partner or that friend. They begin to take care of them. They begin to spend money on them. They begin to do things for them or with them because they believe that if I buy you a gift, if I give you these things, that you're going to stay with me. And many men hurt women and many women hurt men because I don't want you to think that it's only women getting hurt because, the statistic can never prove because men won't tell how many women are being tormented and physically and emotionally abused by Jezebelic and mean, traumatized women and young girls. I was one of them. I tell you, I would beat them men down during my time. I'm smiling, but it was pathetic because I was something else. I was a cannonball because I was so angry, because I was so traumatized. I was tired of being raped by men. I was tired of being hurt by people who was close to me. And what the worst part of this trauma attachment is that I was raped by people that I knew. And we talked about that early on. Most of the people that are raped and traumatized, they know them. And it appears that nobody's helping them. So you become very dismissive. You don't want the relationship, even though you want to come toward you. You want the opportunity to abuse it. And that is what I talked about a few minutes ago. You want to make sure that you sow it, what you have been tormented by. And then that same person that you call yourself tormented is an abuser or have been abused themselves. And so, as I said, you take care of them, you protect that hell, you protect the addiction of the abuse. And in the interest of maintaining that attachment trauma relationship, no matter the cost, you stay right there. And many of the women and young girls and boys are dying today because they have nobody to help them. Titus 2 woman, where art thou? That's been my handle since I've been doing these series for these gonna be 10 days. Titus 2 woman, where art thou? And I need to start saying, Titus 2, brother, where art thou? Where are you when you know this brother has been hurt by these Jezebelic wives and women that's hurt them and abused them? Where are you when you know these men are dealing with pornography and anger and all this stuff and hurting women and stuff like that and bullying your own sons and nephews and stuff and bullying boys and bullying girls and you ain't doing nothing, joining gang? Where art thou, Titus 2, brother? Where art thou, Titus 2, woman? God help us all today. I'm talking because I was there. And so I want to give these last nuggets and we get out here. If we look and think about it as you begin to minister to these women and young girls, I want you to consider these matters as you do your assessment. Women of different ages are vulnerable to different forms and manifestations of trauma. Children who experience abuse or neglect at a very young age may have their sense of safety shattered or have attachment problems. Okay. Number 3, teenage girls who are raped may come to fear or avoid intimate relationships. They can't be intimate. They may fake intimacy because they only doing a slam bam, thank you, ma'am, or sir, because it was required of them. So women who are married do the same thing. Been there. They just lay there and think to themselves, get it over with. Because I'm tired. I don't want to be bothered with this. Get yourself done so I can take a shower. And men know when you're being intimate or you just being numb or you just there. And so usually they tip out on the relationship or the marriage for that reason. So a lot of young girls are coming up with this trauma of the rape. And then in the midlife health problems, we talk about the midlife women and men. In the midlife health problems, these issues may emerge for trauma survivors who have avoided routine preventive care. And so when they avoid, hi there, Quincy, hi there, Evangelist Barbara. And then elders may face the emergence of trauma issues that they have not thought about for years. It'll start raising up all of a sudden. And then some of the younger women you work with in your ministry or in your home might be even those who that are close to other relatives that may be even a veteran, because we forget about them. The elders and the vets are always forgotten about. And some might have served on combat missions who are going through trauma. And then, or either have a situation that essentially unheard of in our generation or generations before us. So we got to deal with those matters that we may not even understand the terminology because it is really real to them what they're facing. And then becoming aware of lifespan issues, okay? These issues can help broaden the way we think about those who are going through as we begin to study those situations. So then on tomorrow, I'm hoping I can talk to you about helplessness victimization. You know, many of the people that we're dealing with, they have this woe is me mentality. We got to understand, why am I always grumbling, complaining about this or that? Why is this person always saying this hurt me or that hurt me? Why is it that we wake up thinking about, oh, I need to let them know I don't feel good, I don't want to do it, I got to give some excuse about my body because they know I'm suffering and they know I'm going through. I want to talk about helplessness victimization. It's self-victimization. We'll talk about that tomorrow. And so I want to close with prayer because I've been staying on here longer than I wanted to. Father, I just thank you that, Lord God, they've joined me today, and those that have seen these will share them. Lord, and that today, God, you begin to remind them as you sit in our devotion today, Father, that you are always with us. I thank you for the power of your presence, God, because you promised us in Psalms 145 and 18, you said that the Lord is near to all who call on him and to all who call on him in truth, that you are near and that you have heard our cry. Before we even open our mouth, you heard our groanings, you heard our tears in the spirit. So we thank you that today, Daddy, that today, that one that is watching me, that today, that one that hear this message, that today, that one that may be traumatized for whatever reason of the attachment trauma they're going through, Father, that you're touching their hearts and their minds even now, and that you're doing a supernatural, Daddy, that the things that is hidden, the thing that is painful, the thing that is shameful, the thing that is fearful, whether it's a sickness, whether it's a disease, whether the doctor gave you some report that you don't feel like you're going to make it out because it's generational. The devil is a lie. Jesus is Lord, and the blood still works. I thank you that even now, Dad, that you're doing the supernatural, even now through my voice. I decree and I send by the power of the blood and the apostolic oil on my life. I say, behold, it's sick by the power of the blood in Jesus' name. And it is so because he is Lord over everything and everybody. We thank you, Daddy, that you're talking to the doctors. We thank you, Daddy, that you're talking to the individual, that they will believe you were not the devil. Yes, God. So I thank you that those that have heard today, those that truly believe today, help their unbelief, Daddy. Increase their faith. God, I said they charge their angels to fight on their behalf in every need, in every situation. We think that this weekend will be a good weekend. We think that this weekend will be a safe weekend. We think this weekend will be a family weekend. We think that their minds will be alert, their eyes will be attentive, and they will discern and see and know, I said the dark from the light. Be Lord again today, Daddy, in no other name but Jesus. I love you. I praise you. I adore you. I thank you for my life today. I thank you that when I was running on this day, I think that when I was fighting on this day, I thank you, God, for life and life abundantly, that I can give my life away on this day to you, to your family, to your ministry, in no other name but Jesus. And it is so. Enjoy your weekend. Anybody got any questions or comments for me before I get off of here? I want to say again, hi Quincy, hi Evangelist Barbara, and all those who join me. I love you too. Please share these messages, evangelize. Please share these messages and tell them It may be a little long. I always tell them, it may be a long, but guess what? Daddy is speaking, and he's depending on us to go ye therefore. So I challenge you to evangelize these messages during this time that I'm doing these 10 days. Love you so much. And we will talk later. I don't see any messages there. Then we will talk later. We'll talk later tomorrow. I'll be here in the morning delivering his word. Love you so much. Bye bye.